Hey. Miss me? So, welcome back to Fufu Rambles About Stuff, where I tier list all of my laptops that I've used, that I have recalled that I used. So, anything before 2012, I think I was a bit too goo goo gaga to remember everything that I had. So, we're just gonna start from 2012. First of all, we got the 2012 Dell Vostro 3550. This boy had a Core i3 2350M, HD3000 graphics, and a 250GB hard drive. All in all, this really helped me navigate the internet, especially when I'm on the go or when the family PC, aka the 2010 Windows XP machine, is occupied. So, yay! I give it a B here because it mostly just did internet stuff, really didn't do anything that big. So, it's not that great, not that bad. It's all good. Then, after that, we got the 2013 Asus Transformer Book T100. This boy was actually my first laptop. It's not the best in specs. It has a Atom Z3740, 2GB of DDR3, Intel HD graphics, and 64GB of eMMC storage. This is like SSD but not really, HDD but faster, slightly faster. So all in all, even though it has shit specs, I give it an S tier. Why? Because a lot of my early videos were made in this boy. Heck, some of them are still roaming around the internet right now. So, any of you archivers there, you'll find it. I'm sure you'll find it. So, after that, we got the 2014 HP ProBook 440. This boy had a Core i5 5200U, 8GB of DDR3 at 1600MHz, and a 500GB hard drive. This boy would have been an S tier in my book as well, only for the exception that it was also, like the Dell Vostro, a office LAN PC. This means that I couldn't really install everything I want, and this is Windows 8.1 that we're talking about right now, so there's much more clamped down stuff compared to Windows 7. So all in all, I'd rate it an A tier because it was fast, it did stuff that it could run without the administrator account screaming at me. It was alright, A tier. Then after that, we get to the 2014 HP Pavilion X360. This boy was lent to me, though it ended up being in my hands. But the specs of it is a Celeron N3050 with the same Intel HD graphics, 4GB of DDR3 1600MHz with a 500GB hard drive. This boy, meh, even though if it had 4GB of DDR3, it still felt slower than the T100 that I had. Maybe because of that hard drive. Yeah, maybe because of that hard drive. So because of that, C tier. Then, fast forward about 4 years later, because of the desktop being more than enough for my use, I got another Dell Vostro 3550, but this time, I actually owned it. So, I had the administrator account, I can install whatever I want to install, and this boy was a faster 3550. It had a Core i5 2450M, HD 3000 graphics. Damn. Wow, 3000? 8GB of RAM at 1600MHz and 250GB of hard drive space. All in all, I'd still rate it a B tier, mostly because my desktop did basically the same thing, and it was at the time where I really didn't have that much use of a laptop, even though if I wanted one. Maybe for the occasional out of town trips, it would be great. But other than that, it really wasn't that much use to me. Then when the pandemic came around, I got a bit of spare change, and with that spare change, I bought myself a MacBook. A mid 2010 Apple MacBook polycarbonate. Haha, see what I did there? This boy was about 10 years old by the time I bought it. The specs were really showing its age, with a Core 2 Duo P8600, the slowest of everything that I've said, 8 gigabytes of DDR3 at 1333 megahertz, and a 500 gigabyte hard drive. This boy was alright with its stock macOS that I bought it with, which is 10.9 Mavericks. But when I updated it to Mojave or even High Sierra, especially Catalina, it was doo doo. It ran like molasses. I really need an SSD for that, but sadly, it's not in my hands anymore, so rip. But for the experience that I had, other than its impressive battery life, yeah, I would give it a C tier. Which leads us to today, wherein after selling my whole desktop, I realized that I'm going to places a lot, especially every day. So I need a laptop that could be a desktop when I am at home. Which led me to the 2023 Asus Zephyrus G14. This boy had it all. A Ryzen 9 7940HS, a Radeon 780M, integrated graphics, RTX 4060, laptop graphics at 8GB of VRAM, and 64GB of DDR5 running at 4800 MHz. I have two complaints with this. Number one is from Nvidia. Come on, it's 2024. Well, 2023 when it got launched. And you have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. The 3060 was 12. Suddenly, this boy had 8? This isn't supposed to be called a 4060. This is more like a 4050. And even then, the 4050 is much more humiliating at 6 gigabytes of VRAM. The 1060 had that much. The 980 had that much. I think the 980 Ti, but still, it was that long ago. So, come on. The second thing is because of Asus. They made the RAM at 4800 megahertz. Why? 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 You can see DDR5 nowadays approaching 5600, 6000 megahertz, and no, 4800, 4800 megahertz. Damn! Even the 48 gigabyte RAM upgrade that I placed into the G14, that boy was running at 5600 megahertz. But it's being hampered and it's running about 800 megahertz less because the soldered memory, thank you Asus again, decided that yeah, no, I'm just gonna run at 4800 megahertz. So I hope one day we will be able to unlock the RAM frequency and maybe at least bump it up to 5000 megahertz, maybe 52, hopefully 5600. But yeah. Anyways, one thing that I am peeved about this laptop, which is not the laptop's fault, is that it cannot exactly be a replacement of a desktop. Because I'm using this boy as I would on a desktop. So I have it plugged into the wall 24/7. I have it plugged into an external monitor, giving me two monitors. But it's quite janky. It's really janky. Especially if you're like day-to-day browsing and suddenly it switches from the AMD graphics on the laptop screen to the Nvidia graphics on the main monitor, giving this weird artifacty thing. I think it's more a software issue than a hardware issue, but I think both of them still have faults in it. So overall, yeah, I give it an 8 here. It's one of the most powerful systems that I've owned. But it has some flaws. And those flaws are quite annoying. Quite annoying. It's not something that I could shrug off, but rather it is something that it's a disturbance. And I hope either Microsoft fixes it, or Asus has a BIOS update where it fixes stuff. Or maybe it just is what it is. It's a laptop at the end of the day. It's not supposed to be a desktop replacement, like a one-to-one desktop replacement. So, yeah, I'll be making a part 2 of this in the next video, mostly because it's already 10 minutes, and if I incorporate the other laptops, which I'll introduce next video, it's gonna double. It's gonna double. If not 1.5 the boy. 1.5 the duration of the boy. Or is it 2.5? Yeah. But anyways, stay tuned for my next video talking about the other laptops. Ooh. But for the meantime, while that's still uploading, you can check out my previous video where I tier list all of my desktops. So this is Fuukattofumei signing out, and I hope to see you soon, guys. Fuukattofumei disappearing at 3, 2, 1.